episode of dog training or dog behavior Q&A, where people that are watching on live on YouTube or Facebook can ask a dog trainer some dog behavior questions. I will give you the most honest, I will give you guys the best answer of my ability, and you guys' questions obviously help out people who may see this either now or later. You guys are going to help out people who have the similar issues or similar challenges that they're with their dog. So that being said, those of you who are watching live have the priority as far as questions being answered. So I'll answer you guys' questions before I get to my other social media sort of emailing questions. All right. So thanks for stopping by. Let's get started. Okay, I think I'm gonna go to the Instagram first. Okay, best ways to deal with reactivity that comes from sudden appearance of stimulus, but not in cases with constant stimulus. Example, dog is hiking and sees no one. Suddenly, person equals major reactivity. And in another situation, dog is hiking where and constantly running into people equal no big deal. Okay, so I think the best way to help that situation. So basically what you're saying is when you're hiking and your dog sees another dog or a person, the dog reacts. And so what you have to do is you really have to see if you can start to anticipate it, because you want your dog to think about you more so than the stimulus, or in this case, the person. So you kind of have to be very quick, be expecting that you'll run into people. I know it's pretty tough when you can't see far in front of you, especially where you live. So, but I know exactly what you're talking about. You have to, you have to be proactive with their thought process. As soon as they see it, they should get some information from you, and the right information, the right amount of information from you, so that they at least are able to use their brain as opposed to react to the stimulus and not listen to you. That's what you don't want. But you got to be quick and you got to be expecting it. The only way you can sort of beat the dog to the punch, so to speak, is to anticipate it, if that makes sense. So that's what I would do. Thank you for your question. Okie doke. Let's pull up the live feed here. All right, next question. Do you think that reactivity can be genetic in some cases, or is it always a learned behavior, lack of early socialization? I'm going to come back to that because we have our first question live. Okay, Amanda says, my 1-year-old dog tries to protect me. She growls. The hair on her back stands up. We have a lot of people come in and out of the house. So, it's not lack of being around people. How do I stop this behavior? Well, if your dog, you have to teach your dog not to be protective of you. And the only way to do that is to be able to have the dog listen to you at a high level, despite what it wants to do. What it wants to do, it does. It reacts to whatever is making her growl or the hair on her back stand up. The dog is reacting and choosing not to listen to you. So you got to somehow we've got to reverse that. The dog should listen to you to get to the point where the dog does not feel like it's necessary to growl, or that it's okay to growl. Okay, because those are the two reasons why dogs decide to do certain behavior. Because they think they can, or they think they have to. All right, so you can also help the dog sort of grow independent from you by being a little bit more, making the relationship maybe a little more autonomous. If your dog follows you around the house all the time, or if the dog is showing any needy behavior and you're feeding into that needy behavior, that could also directly affect why the dog decides to growl at other people. It may be getting too much of what it wants. So you can help with that. In a lot of cases, that is the reason why dogs get possessive of people. It's because they get too much of that person, which means, all the attention it wants, whenever it wants. And so we want to evaluate that. May or may not be true, but something to think about. How much does the dog get what it wants when it wants it? You create that independence, and then the dog decides to not do that behavior, because a lot of those dogs also, once they get away from their parent or their parents, they act not as I would say bold or bad. So create some independence from her. Let her know that you don't need it. Let her know that you don't need her protection. All right? Or that you can control it. So, thank you for your question. Feel free to ask another one. All right, next question. Let's go back to that. Cheers, B. Let's go back to that Instagram question. All right, do you think that reactivity can be genetic in some cases, or is it always a learned behavior? Lack of early socialization. I think the answer is both. You can certainly have reactivity be genetic. Or, we can dive into the definition of reactivity, but we won't. But basically, yeah, you can have a dog who is sensitive, assertive, all those, any sort of attribute that you can find in a dog can be linked to who their parents were. So, yes. And reactivity also can stem from them having to be there for themselves when there should have been someone there for them. And that is the case for a lot of rescue dogs, or a lot of dogs who come from rescue. Oftentimes, people weren't there to sort of guide the dog. For example, early on, an Australian Shepherd puppy decides he wants to chase after cars. And there was no one there to tell him no, no one there to tell him he shouldn't. And then it decides to feed in that reactivity. So the dog really just decides that every car, all the time, is something that it needs to chase. So, and it could have been also that first decision to go after that car totally be genetic as well, because it's a shepherd. But so yeah, the answer is both genetic and both nurture. So nature and nurture. All right, thank you for your question. Okie doke. Next question. Tips on fearful dog. Bellatrix turned 1 year old November 4th, and she is afraid of everything that is not in our home. She won't go outside without the other dogs or one of us in the backyard. I can't take her to Home Depot or a park or hiking because she barks at strangers as well. The last time we went to the vet, I muzzled her because she was growling at the vet and vet techs. He states she suffers from anxiety and gave her medication to mellow her out. My other dogs are very social, and I take them everywhere with me with ease of mind. When people come over to the house, she wants to say hello because she sees the other dogs saying hello, but she ends up barking. She is amazing and balanced at home with the pack and family. What can I do to help her and also learn when not to reward her behavior? I need to learn what to look for and how to properly correct her. I know all dogs are not the same, so if this is just who she is, I want to make sure she has the best quality of life, and I want to make sure everyone is safe within my home. Okay, so yeah, I mean, you're just basically dealing with basic fearful challenges. As far as what your vet said, given the anxiety diagnosis, that's a bunch of crap. Your vet says the dog suffers from anxiety because it growled at the vet. That's not right. The dog's growling at your vet because it's nervous. I think it has little to do with anxiety. So, so no anxiety. Dog just needs to be properly socialized with people out in public. The dog also needs to learn how to trust you, but it also before that, needs to learn how to respect you. Once a dog respects you, then it will open up its mind for change, new possibilities, for fear to sort of dissipate. And then the trust comes in. So how do you get respect? Well, you have to get the dog to listen to you much better inside the home. You mentioned that the dog barks at home. I would start creating more opportunities to just work with that dog and not your others. Maybe the dog is sort of being kept from, growing in a sense because of the other two dogs. So I would work with that dog alone. And I would also get the dog to go outside. Just put a leash on the dog and take the dog outside. Pretty much anything that you want with your dog should happen if you know it's ultimately good for them and or not going to hurt them. But the dog does have to listen to you. Okay? That is the key to all, the foundation to all, challenging behaviors. How much does your dog listen to you? And then getting the dog to listen to you under stressful situations, or what they perceive as stressful situations. How well does your dog listen to you? If it doesn't, then it means it doesn't trust you. It's like, no. Dog's like, no, I'm not going to listen to you. I don't trust you. Or dog's not going to listen to you because, well, I got to listen to myself in this situation. I'm not going to take your word for it, because your word doesn't mean nothing to me. That doesn't mean anything to me at this point. So how do you get that? How do you change that? Well, you have to get the dog to start listening to you in the house. Does your word mean that? Does your dog actually take your word for things that you say? If not, then that should be your goal. And all problems, anxiety, fear, aggression, all start to get better because the dog starts to look to you as opposed to sort of looking to itself to solve problems, answer questions, and which means, for example, someone comes in, they feel like they have to go to the door and address this stranger, as opposed to listening to you saying, "Go lay down," or "No," or "Come," or "On your bed." The dog decided to ignore all of that and rush the door. Well, that's a problem. Because even if the dog isn't aggressive, it could one day get to that point. Especially if you're dealing with a shy dog in some circumstance. So I would start there. All right, thanks for your question. Okay, next question. Tips for fearful puppies. We just got an 11-week-old puppy, and she's terrified of men. She growls and fear bites my boyfriend. We were told she hasn't been around men. Any help in getting her past is greatly appreciated. So first of all, that doesn't necessarily mean that she is fearful of men. She just may be fearful of your boyfriend, who happens to be a man. But I would also say this. Don't let your boyfriend come up to the dog and try and pet the dog. Just give the dog space. Let the dog come to him. And when she's comfortable enough to be pet, then he can pet her. But not now. Maybe it's too early. Too much too soon. Too overwhelming, it sounds like, that he's being. So when she growls and all that, just give her some space. Let her clear her mind. If it's a new puppy in a new situation, then let her breathe. So I even do that with adult dogs. Give them some space. Give them the option not to be violated, since that's what we like to do to puppies. All right. Thank you for your question. All right. Hi, Nancy. How are you? Let's see. Can you explain the 3-week training session with you? What is all involved in the sessions? Of course. What the price is also. Has there ever been a dog you could not help? Love the very informative videos every week. Sure. So, 3 weeks. Your dog will be staying with me for 3 weeks. We only work with 3 dogs per month. And it will be $3,000. A lot of threes. You usually put half down as the deposit, and then half down at the end of the 3 weeks. So half now, and then half at the end of the 3 weeks. Right now we're booking out till February. But all that information can be found on my website as well. I have no problem telling people what the price is and all that good stuff. Has there ever been a dog I could not help? No. I can help every dog. Most dogs that can't be helped don't make it to me. But if you're even questioning if the dog can be helped, most people, then that lets me know that I can help the dog. Okay, the dog just has to have a chance to experience someone, in my opinion, who knows how to give the dog strong boundaries and see how the dog responds to strong boundaries. And that doesn't mean it is tough love, but I don't want people to get the wrong picture of what that means. That just means I'm not going to allow bratty behavior to start to add up, because then the dog does become and remain a dangerous dog. And if the dog decides to not respect the boundaries that I put forth, then I would say the dog needs to be put down. but I've never had that happen. Okay, so the dog has got to be really something's really wrong with the dog for me not to be able to help the dog. But I can help every dog. So that's that. Thank you for your question. I hope that give me a call and maybe we can work something out. All right. Okie doke. Let's see. 2-year-old rescue won't go down the laminate stairs to the finished basement. We bought expensive stair runners. Still no luck. He goes down the wooden deck step with no problem and goes up and down my parents' carpeted stairs quickly and without hesitation. They have steep stairs too. We've tried steak on each step, toys, and played with his brother in the basement. Still no luck. He trembles, sometimes when near the stairs. Any tips would be great, as we want to go back to spending time in the basement we finished. If we go down and he's upstairs, he whines and chews anything he can. Wow. Okay, so steak's not working, then I can't help you. Just kidding. Okay, what I would do is put a leash on the dog and slowly take the dog down. Don't drag the dog down, but take the dog to the very edge of every step and let the dog step down. This approach is going to be, in my opinion, the quickest way to get the dog to get used to it and get over it. Because you could drag the dog down, up and down a million times, and eventually it may work. That'd be probably not the way that I would do it. But it's just like getting a dog in a crate that refuses to get in the crate. Or getting a dog on a treadmill who refuses to get on a treadmill. You got to bring them all the way to it, but you can't force them on it. They have to choose, but they also have to exhaust every option not to do it. So when you're there with your leash pressure, you take those options away, and then they're sort of forced to sort of say, okay, I'm going to put his paw down. Then you say, good. Not, good boy, here's a treat, and all that goofy crap. Don't worry about all that. Wait till you get all the way down the steps. Okay? And then, so you take him down there, take him down to the step, and you just hold it there. And you just kind of talk to him. Come on. But don't make it, again, a whole conversation. Just be, sort of solid and direct with your conversation. Come on. Come on. Come on. You can do it. Not much else than that. All right? And again, take them all the way to the edge and hold them there. And then when they start to go down, you release that pressure. You don't hold that tension. You let the tension go as the dog starts to go forward. Hold on, I'll show you. So if this is your dog, the leash work is pretty important. So you bring the dog to the bottom of the steps, or the top of the steps, sorry, and your leash should probably be, angled this way. Your hands here, and dog's probably going to be like right here. So this is the dog, this is your hand, and you're going to hold it there. Don't let your hand move, because if it moves this way, he's going to go like this. So I remember he's going to exhaust all his attempts to go back. Nope, not doing it. Don't want to do it. Don't want to do it. Don't want to do it. But if you hold yourself here and you keep talking to him, eventually he'll gonna do this. And then when he does that, you take a little more. All right. He does that again. You take, okay, here it is. So again, top of the stairs, and you're sort of right here. You're going to be holding, not pulling, but holding. And then again, he's going to give in, and then you take. Good boy. Once he gives in, you say, good boy. And then you take. He gives, you take, just like that. You don't pull him down, though. You hold it. If you pull him down, he's not learning. You're just going to be dragging him down. So hold it there. He decides to come down, you take some. Boom, 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 boom. All the way down. All the way down. He will give in, but you can't give in before he does. I mean, yeah, you can't give up before he decides to, because then it'll just prolong the process. So commit to it. No matter how long it takes, commit to it. Make sure, obviously, your collar is on tight so it doesn't slip over the head. And he could buck. He could really buck, this, that, and that, and the other. You can also practice that approach, maybe with other stairs too, just so he can kind of get used to it. But he's got to take your leadership. So your leadership, it trumps all technique. That's the technique that I showed you. But so, for example, I can get my dog. If my dog was scared of the stairs, he would much more quickly take to my suggestion more so than stay in his own head versus your dog, simply because I've taken him through certain situations where he would perceive as something that would make him nervous or foreign, but I've been there for him. So that's why I think agility is really good for dogs, because not how most agility trainers train. Agility trainers train in a persuasive way. I would teach agility in the sort of, you've got to do this way. Because a lot of dogs hate jumping into cars. Some dogs don't even like to go in the car. And it would be the same exact approach, once again. You're sort of taking the dog to the, to the edge, and then allowing the dog to step forward. But you're not throwing the dog anywhere. If that makes sense. So that was a lot, but I hope that helps, because you can do it. Okay, a lot of Great Danes don't like to walk on slippery flooring, and so it's the same approach. Just getting them over it. All right, let's move on. After a 3-week session with you, do you then have a training session with the owners? How is this handled? Are there updates as sessions go on? Yes, yes, and yes. Is that 3 questions? Yeah. So, yeah. You come here, we teach you all what we taught the dog. You don't leave until you're very comfortable with handling the situations that we've taught the dog how to handle, and we answer any other questions. We go through the scenarios that your dog is having challenges with. We make sure you feel comfortable before you leave. Plus you have then free private lessons afterwards as well. And we have free classes every other Saturday to maintain what the dog has learned. Okay? That's the deal. I think I answered every one of them. Yep. That's it. So, thanks for your question. All right, let's see what else we got. Fearful puppy, got that one. All right. 4-month-old Springer Spaniel pup is terrified of the ventilation hood in the kitchen. We have worked extensively with socialization and having her out in the world exposed to people, sights, sounds, no problem with anything except this vent hood. I've left it running for hours thinking she'll get used to it, and tried running it while she's eating, but she just stays in the next room as far as she can. Advice? Yeah. So yes, 4 month old. Okay, it's gonna be pretty tough, but um, how about? So I'll give you two pieces. One is, how about tying the dog's leash around your waist and sort of walking around with the puppy in the kitchen. You know, you doing your thing, washing the dishes, and you go over and turn it on. And you continue to sort of wash the dishes and do that. Make sure she walks with you while you're doing that. You're not dragging her around. But that's one way, kind of just clipping her too. And then the other way, which would be pretty tough for a 4 month old puppy, but putting her bed in there and having her stay in that place. Again, maybe a little too young for that, to expect all of that. So for now, and again, she's only 4 months. You may not even have to do that. This may not something you have to conquer right away, is what I'm saying. You can just continue to do what you do, and she stays in the kitchen. Excuse me. Stays in the living room, wherever she is, and eventually, you know, long term, you can kind of just let her get used to it. She's still young, still impressionable, so there's a lot of time for her to get used to it without you. But if you want to speed up the process, I think your best bet would be to just tie her up to your waist and not overwhelm her too much. Not right away go ahead and turn it on 3 or 4 times. You know, um, and sort of try the indifferent approach instead of petting her and giving her a whole bunch of treats. Um, just kind of try to be like, you know, almost as if she's not there, sort of thing. So that's what I would try. All right. Thanks for your question. Okay. You're going to Madison. Where in Madison? I was thinking to go. Is this a weekend or next? Is this weekend or next? It's this weekend, and I'm gonna be in a bunch of places in Madison, but mostly be right in Madison. Most of my appointments are right in Madison, and let's see. So for the most part, the seminar is outside of Madison, 30 minutes. We can just PM me and I can give you the location to that. But mostly I'll be on the east side of Madison, pretty close to the Capitol. So PM me if you'd like to meet up. That'd be fun. All right. Thank you for your question. Well, that wasn't really a question. Okay, let's move on. Next question. Okay. Wow. All right. How do you handle alarm barking? Say if your dog sees nothing outside the window. An alarm barks, but then won't stop barking. I don't mind the alarm, but when I tell him to stop, I mean stop. Okay, so that last sentence that you just said, your dog has got to believe you when you say that. Excuse me. If you mean stop when you say stop, that's what you should tell your dog. Because right now your dog doesn't think you mean stop. Stop doesn't mean stop to your dog. Stop means keep on barking. So, how do you get them to stop barking though? Okay, He's got to listen to you. Okay? And then when he listens to you and you say come, and you say, you lay down right here, then there's no chance to bark, is there? The barking will stop. So he's got to listen to you when you say come, and then when you say, you go lay down on your bed. Sassy boy. Or girl. Was it a boy or girl? No, didn't say. But you say come, you say on your bed, you say lay down. And if your dog does that, then you will stop the barking. Okay? In order to do that, though, you may have to use a training tool of some sort. So I have a YouTube video on how to get to what I just explained, and that'll stop that barking there. It's okay. I answered your question. I think it was in the beginning, so you may have to wait, but or yeah, you may have to wait till it's over so that you can see the beginning. I don't know how it works, but yeah. Thanks for your question. All right, next question. Let's see. How do I get my dogs to not bark when someone comes to the door? Okay, so that was kind of the same question. Same as the same answer for the last question. The last question and your question are the same, pretty much. So give the dog something to do that it has to do. Let the dog realize that you mean what you say. If it doesn't, then it's free to do what it wants. It's as simple as that. There are people who aren't dog trainers that are so stubborn in what they say that they have good dogs. You have to be more stubborn than your dog. Now listen, I'm sympathetic to people who have very stubborn dogs. I'm very sympathetic. But you should not talk about giving your dog up, or give up on your dog, or taking the dog to the shelter before you give that dog the no option but to listen to you. Okay, I just talked to someone who had a hound, and they were saying that the hound chases after the cats, doesn't come when called, and they were working with an e-collar, and I said, how many levels? And they said 10. I said, okay, how high have you been? She said, and they said 3. And I said, you shouldn't give up on that dog until you have been as firm as the dog needs you to be in order to listen. So I said, take the dog off leash, put the e-collar on, and the level at which the dog comes to you is the level that you should be working with. Hi, Melissa. How are you? The level at which the dog listens to you is the level at which the dog works. If 3's not working, if the dog's not coming at 3, then 3's not the level. So I said, tell the dog to come with the verbal, no e-collar. And if the dog decides not to come, then say come again and give the dog an e-collar correction. Higher than 3. Okay, the woman comes back, says the dog had the best off-leash session ever. I said, how high did you go? She said 7. So, it's as simple as that, folks. Get your dog to listen to your word. Don't give up before the dog gives up. And make the dog work for what it wants, as opposed to just giving an overabundance of it. That's how you're going to create that bratty dog. And if your dog isn't listening to you, and has bad behavior and has bad habits, then your dog should not be sleeping with you or on the couch. That is the recipe for bad behavior. Okay? So, that's all I got. I hope you guys got something out of it. I appreciate all you guys for watching. So, if you feel so inclined, please give me a thumbs up, or a like, or a subscribe. I would appreciate it. We'll see you guys next week. I'm going to go have some fun in Madison this weekend. Hope to see some of you there. And take care. It's cold outside. Bye-bye.